In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Dear students, Mrs. Ishrat Parveen here. I am serving as a subject specialist at Divisional Public School and Inter-College Sahiwal. As all of you are very well aware of the fact that our teaching learning process has once again gone shifted to online classes. Today is the first lecture of that regard. It is section 2 of the book by the title Heroes, and our today's hero is Louis Pasteur. At the end of this lesson, you people will be able to know about Louis Pasteur. You will be able to get new vocabulary. At the very same time, you'll also be able to answer the questions related to the lesson. Louis Pasteur was a French biologist and chemist known for discoveries of vaccination and microbial fermentation. Before the times of Pasteur, disease and death were mysteries. Nobody knew about them. But it is said about Pasteur that he was the one who brought the disease and death from the world of supernatural into the world of reality. This piece of writing that we are going to talk about in our today's class has been taken from a book by the name Six Great Scientists, and it has been written by Margaret Avery. The name of Louis Pasteur is at the top of this list. Before proceeding towards the question answers, let's talk about the key points of the lesson so that you are better able to answer the questions. First of all, we'll be talking about the birth and early life of Louis Pasteur. Pasteur was born in Dole in Jura district of France in 1822. When he was 2 years of age, his family moved from Dole to Arbois. There he was sent to school at communal college. Pasteur was not interested in his studies, but soon he realized that his education was a great burden on the earning of his family, and that was the moment when he became a devoted student, which remained with him for the rest of his life. Patriotism. If we talk about patriotism, it basically means the love for one's motherland. And it is said about Pasteur that he was more of a patriot than of a scientist. Whenever his country needed, he always wanted to serve in his country by being there in the army. But he was refused on physical grounds. That was the moment then he decided that he'll be turning to the sword of science to serve his country. If we talk about the important works of Pasteur, there is a list of his works that has been of great help in the service of humanity. First of all, his work on spontaneous generation needs to be mentioned in this regard. Spontaneous generation means automatic reproduction of living organisms without parents. From this work of Pasteur basically came a revolution in the field of medicine and science. Then we'll be moving towards the next thing, that is brewing. Brewing means the production of beer. When Pasteur was declined to be taken into army, he turned to the sword of science, and this was the area which he chose to work on. He thought he'll be working on brewing and will be helping his country to produce beer as good as that manufactured in Germany. And it is said that by his work on this, so much money was got by France, which was more than enough to pay the ransom for the Franco-German War. Fermentation. Fermentation is the process of chemical changes. Pasteur's research on this work proved the forerunner for the treatment of post-operation for the treatment of post-operation infections that used to cause a lot of deaths in those times. Then comes silkworm industry. Silkworm industry is one of the important industries in France, and there was a time when this industry was suffering a great loss because of a strange kind of disease that had prevailed over there. And when Pasteur was asked by the government to help in that regard, he moved towards it, and his research in this field proved of great help. Then is vaccination. Vaccination is the process of weakening germs for the sake of introducing them into the diseased persons so that they are better prepared for the attack of the diseases. Then is the next thing, it's the research on diseases. If we talk if we talk about the research of Pasteur on diseases, there are different diseases like anthrax, puerperal fever, fowl cholera, and hydrophobia. Pasteur, Pasteur's work on these diseases proved of great help for the later discoveries as well. Anthrax, first of all, let's talk about anthrax. It's a disease of animals. It's a disease which is caused by a bacteria called bacillus. This causes infections in the animals, and a lot of animal died because of this before the research of Pasteur. But after that research, it is said that this death rate decreased to a great length. Puerperal fever is an infection which a female suffers after childbirth. In maternity hospitals of France, a lot of women used to die because of this disease. But when Pasteur made a research on this, he was able to find out the germ causing this disease. And when he found out the treatment of this disease, the lives of a lot many women were saved, and the world got rid of this disease as well. Fowl cholera is also another disease that he worked on, and this was the point where he was in a position and got able to find out the process of vaccination. Hydrophobia. Hydrophobia is a disease which is caused by the bite of a mad dog. Pasteur made a research on this disease, and as a result of this, he was able to cure the people suffering from hydrophobia successfully. Hydrophobia, although was the last human disease he worked on, but right from here, all post-Pasteur discoveries sprang. Other scientists were motivated by his discoveries, and they made researches on those discoveries, and they were able to find out the solution and cure and treatment for many other diseases as well. Pasteur Institute is something that really needs to be discussed with regard to the life and works of Pasteur. Pasteur Institute was built in Paris from funds which were collected from all over the world. And this institute till now is doing a great service of humanity by making research on science, medicine, and diseases. It was a great joy for Pasteur in the last years of his life. Hopefully you have got the basic ideas about this lesson. Now let's move towards the exercise question answers. Our question number 1 is, describe the early life of Pasteur. Answer is, Louis Pasteur was born on 27 December 1822 at Dole in Jura district of France. When he was 2 years of age, his family moved to Arbois. Arbois is also another place in France. He was sent to school at the communal college. He was interested in fishing and sketching more than studies. It means he wasn't mainly interested in studies. He used to spend most of his time in fishing, and he used to make sketches of his friends. When Pasteur realized means when he understood, when he came to know that his education was a great drain on family funds. Drain basically means to extract, to take away. But here drain means burden. When he realized, when he understood that his education was causing a burden for the earning of the family, he became a devoted student. Chemistry was his major interest. He was all the more interested in chemistry. He even confused his professor by asking unanswerable questions. He graduated in science and arts from Besanca and was given a post on the college staff. In 1848, at the age of 26, he became deputy professor of chemistry in the University of Strasbourg. Question number 2 is, Give some instances. Instances means examples of Pasteur's patriotism. Patriotism means love for his motherland. So here we are required to give some examples of Pasteur's love for his motherland. Answer is, it is said that Pasteur was more of a patriot than of a scientist. In 1848, when there was a political turmoil in Europe, turmoil means disturbance, crisis. This was a situation when Pasteur enrolled himself in the National Guard and donated all his worldly wealth of 150 francs to his country. Then again, in 1870, when he was returning from Germany to France, he came to know that France was on the verge of war. Verge means edge. It means was about to have a war with France. He hurried to Paris to get himself enrolled once again in the National Guard, but he was again denied. Denied means refused on physical grounds. Physical ground means because of physical incapability. As we know that he had strokes of paralysis which made him bodily incapable of any kind of service in the army. That's why he was refused. He returned his degree of Doctor of Medicine to the German university, saying that his name should be removed from the faculty. What do you mean by spontaneous generation? This is our question number 3. The answer is spontaneous generation means the reproduction of germs from non-living matter in a natural way. That is, birth of germs automatically without their parents. This was a problem which was settled by Pasteur once for all in negative. He said he proved that spontaneous generation was not a fact. How did Pasteur prove that spontaneous generation was not a fact? The answer is in 1860, Pasteur entered in a competition of the French Academy for the solution of the problem whether spontaneous generation was or was not a fact. He settled the matter in negative, means he proved it was not a fact. He proved that if a substance be heated to destroy all life in it, and the air in contact with it be filtered. Filtered means purified, made free of germs, so that it is free of germs. Then the substance does not alter. Alter means change. That is, bacteria do not develop in it. Next is our question number 5. Question number 5 has got two parts, so they have been divided for your convenience in A and B parts. First of all, we are going to talk about question 5 part A. Describe the importance and popularity of the silkworm industry in France. Answer is keeping of silkworms was one of the chief home industries of the peasantry of France. Peasantry means farmers, the rural people. People heavily depended on silk industry. Common greeting on meeting a friend is said to be not how do you do, but how are your silkworms doing. It means it was so much popular over there that when people used to meet one another, they didn't used to say or ask about the health conditions of one another. They used to ask about the situation that was there regarding their silkworms. Next is question 5, part B. What help did Pasteur rendered? Rendered mean gave. What service he provided in curing the silkworm disease in his country? Answer is Pasteur suggested. Suggested means proposed, said, told that only those eggs should be kept which had been derived. Derived means taken, got from healthy parents. In addition, he stressed the rearers are those who were having them, who were bringing those up for the sake of their business, to avoid overcrowding, uncleanliness, overheating, and unhealthy conditions. Means he suggested to them that they should be very careful about the cleanliness conditions over there. In this way, he saved the silk industry in the south of France. Question number 6 is, how did Pasteur discover the treatment of cattle disease anthrax? Answer is, Pasteur discovered that if mildly poisonous germs, mildly means less poisonous, Germs of this disease were introduced into animals' blood. It would give rise to only slight symptoms. Slight means minor, little symptoms of anthrax and protect the animal from taking the deadly form in the same way as vaccination prevents smallpox. Question number 7 is, how did Pasteur discover the method of making vaccines? Answer is, in 1879, Pasteur was working at fowl cholera in his laboratory. He found all his cultivation means the production that he had produced over there of germs, dead or dying. He inoculated means entered into many birds or injected into birds with those dying or dead germs. He found that those birds first showed signs of disease and then recovered. Then recovered means then they got healthy. This experiment led to the discovery of the method of making vaccines. Question number 8 is, give an account of Pasteur's treatment of hydrophobia and how he cured the first patient suffering from it. Answer is, hydrophobia or rabies is caused by the bite of a mad dog. The part of the body affected in hydrophobia is the nervous tissue, the tissue that controls the nerves. Pasteur took some of the nervous tissue of an animal which had died of the disease. He attenuated this tissue. Attenuated means weakened, made less dangerous, less harmful, and then introduced it into dogs. It rendered them immune. Rendered means it made them immune to hydrophobia. Later, it was applied to a boy, Joseph Meester, in 1885, and he fully recovered from the disease. Our last question, question number 9 says, how did Pasteur show the way to other scientists? Give an account of the discoveries. Answer is, Pasteur's great discoveries stirred up. Stirred up means motivated, inspired other scientists to try similar methods of cure for other diseases. In the 10 years between 1880 to 1890, they discovered the germs of consumption. Consumption means tuberculosis, which is called TB as well, then is diphtheria, typhoid, malaria, cholera, and yellow fever. That is all from the question answers. Hopefully you have understood them. Now we move towards the assignment related to our today's lesson. Dear students, there are some MCQs for you there on your screen. They are related to the lesson taught to you today. You have to read them, you have to solve them so that you are better able to go for the lesson and understanding of the lesson. That is all from today's lesson. Take very good care of yourselves. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.